I'm here in the beautiful North Devon countryside to visit Isembard's first UK franchisee factory, run by Shaun Rowcliffe, who we're going to meet in a minute. This is the frontier of British exceptionalism. I'm really excited to show everybody around and learn more about what they are manufacturing here and how Shaun is building out the business. Stay tuned to see more. I am here today with Shaun Rowcliffe, who runs Isembard Exeter. They've been up and running for a few weeks. We're going to sit down, find out a little bit more about what it is like being on the frontier of British exceptionalism. Shaun, tell us what excites you most about the UK at the moment and about the revivifying of the sector that you are on the forefront of.
I think, like you say, it's that bringing it back to the forefront. I think that's the thing that's most exciting about the position I'm in. It's the ability to help reshore engineering in the UK.
And that's always been something that Isembard has put front and centre of its narrative and also like what it has set out to do, and that Alex Fitzgerald, CEO and founder, talks about a lot. When it comes to machine shops and precision engineering, we've got sort of average age of someone running something like this of 65 here in the UK. You are 22. It's disgusting. Can you tell us a bit about your background and what brought you to Isembard?
Bit of like career background, went off to college, did a year there, and then moved on to an apprenticeship with Babcock International. I was there for around 5 years, 4-year apprenticeship and a year's sort of time served, and then was given this opportunity. So met Alex late last year, which was a very great opportunity and has led to be in this position. I was enjoying my job, so I think it was a good opportunity to do what I was enjoying, but do it for myself.
And so it wasn't like you were looking at other options at the time, or that there was anything else out there like this?
No, it was sort of go out on my own, which I'd been pondering for a long time, but I think this gave me the opportunity to do it sort of a bit more securely.
I think one of the things that's so exciting about Isembard is it kind of offers like machine shop in a box. And for someone like yourself who's a technical expert to come along and perhaps get some of that like supporting ballast around the business piece. Like, one, is that correct? And then I suppose two, it would be really good to hear about what that looks like day to day in terms of being on Mason, the support around getting the site, getting things set up, and how that experience has been.
Yeah, so it has been great, and Alex has been very good at sort of teaching me the business side of running this, because I'm not a businessman, but I'm a machinist, so I can do that side, but it is learning business. Mason's great. It also gives us an opportunity to sort of peel back what the actual core aspects of running a business is and optimise those, and it has been brilliant tenfold.
It would be great to get a day in the life of what is like running the factory.
Yeah, so I guess a morning will start off with emails as
like people, everyone.
Yes, everyone. Yeah. So come in, machine I would normally turn on first thing, get it in a warm up so that it's up to operating temperature by the time I finish my emails. Then it will generally be looking at Mason to see what job is for the day, what I've got to do, what my checklist of things for the day is. Once I know what I'm doing, I will then come out and put parts into the machine or be programming. Generally, I'll be doing that for most of the morning, and then again checking emails and probably some meetings around midday. And then with the nature of being the only machinist here, I'm back on the machine again. So there's a lot of time split between the two, but it works very well with the help of Mason and the guys in London to help with managing jobs.
Are you also using Mason to receive and process orders?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it gives you this centralised hub from which you can then efficiently actually go and do the work. What kind of things are you making here?
So we've got a lot of defence parts, we've got some aerospace stuff and some actual space sector, which is quite cool. And then there is also some like wearable technology, which we are in the process of making.
And we'll go and look at the machine and around what we've got going on in a minute. But can you tell people a little bit about the CNC machine? This is a subtractive machine, and I'm going back to machinery for dummies. But I think it's very helpful to understand from kind of ground floor up what it does and why it's important.
Yeah, so it's a Hermley C22U, so it's a full simultaneous 5-axis subtractive machine, like you say. So it has a cutting tool that is removing material from a solid block to reduce the part.
Does that mean that there are certain things you can't make at a kind of high precision level, or is it just a case that you do different things in subtractive and additive land?
The accuracy that we have in subtractive, additive doesn't have. But there is certain parts that additive can make where you have internal structures that cannot be machined from the outside.
Everyone has a kind of view on defence at the moment, whether they're sitting at home thinking about increased theatres of conflict, whether they are involved in capital allocation. What is it like being on the ground when you're thinking about getting parts made, supply chains, etc.? What sort of considerations do you have day to day?
For us, it's an important part to make sure that the supply chain is there. So that is from material requisition through to making sure we have machines. So that's also can sometimes be an issue in the past. So it's great that we, at the moment, I feel it's strongly, we have a good supply chain for material, machines, and then we also have a great team around us to allow us to do the programming.
Just jumping in on the programming side of things, because I don't know the answer to this. As a machinist, are you doing like front end work as well? Like what does it look like in terms of programming in order to get stuff made?
Yeah, so we have a software that we are using called Hypermill, which is a CAM software. So it allows us to take a 3D solid and then basically we add tool paths to that solid, which would then corresponds to how the tool in the machine would then move around the part.
So Isembard's got you, a machinist, picking out the biz and ops side of things as you build out this factory over in Texas. We've got a businessman who is running a franchise, hiring in machinists. Presumably there's no right or wrong to how one can come in and take on an Isembard franchise.
Yes, I think Texas is a great example of this. You have a businessman who's then hired a technical specialist or a machinist to allow him to then have his own factory. I think it works very well, and with the help of the Isembard franchise, it allows people from other locations to also help. So it's a shared network, so it allows people in that position to do that.
If you had a magic wand in manufacturing, what would you make true?
I think making the funding side easier, whether that be through government help or through just making smaller companies more visible to investors. I think that would be the way forward.
What is the hardest thing about your job?
I think being here on my own at the moment, I think it's time management and not spending so much time away from my partner and my home. But I think with time that will get better.
What about the highlight so far?
I think it would be the open evening. It was great to have everyone here in support and sort of to show everyone what I actually do.
Has it been quite a big shift? And I know you've just sort of touched on this a little bit, but from going from an environment like Babcock to this space where it's just you, how do you kind of manage that mentally?
Like you say, it's been a big change, but I think sort of allotting my time has been a great way of ensuring that I don't burn out and things like that. Having a systematic way about going through my day, that's how I do that.
I suppose, unlike a lot of people who are perhaps doing office work, your day probably divides up into sort of tasks that have discrete portions to them where you can go, there's a temptation just to do the next bit and not turn everything off. So yeah, I can see how just going, actually, that's a tomorrow job is sometimes tricky.
Yes, so there's been a few days where I've been in here until 4 a.m, so yes.
Oh wow, yeah, okay, that's all-night garage.
8 till 4.
8 till 4. What does your week look like? We've had another conversation as part of Basis Points where we've spoken to a founder who lives and works in the same space with his team, which put paid to the kind of 996 debate that is currently raging on LinkedIn, that you do 9 to 9, 6 days a week. What does your week look like? Do you get a couple of days off, or do you tend to just kind of apportion a few hours?
So I'm normally here sort of 8:30, 9 a.m. till probably getting on to 9 p.m, 7 p.m on a good day. So yeah, and then weekends generally try and keep that with my family.
But it's not work if you love it.
That's it.
Or it is work and work is great, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
It's not too bad.
What's it like finding talent? Is it a case of you going and approaching people that you formerly worked with? How's that shaping up?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the great opportunities I've had from coming from a industrial sector already. So I have those people I used to work with, some great mentors that would be great people to bring with me.
In my lifetime, we've sort of lived through the 50% of people going to university, and then a huge tranche of at least one generation have sat there and gone, oh, the robots weren't coming for the plumbers and bricklayers, they were coming for the thinking jobs. If you could change something about the UK education system, what would it be?
I think it would be to bring more people into apprenticeships. I think it was a great opportunity for myself. It allowed me to be a homeowner at 20.
Do you envisage a world where there are apprenticeships with smaller companies? Because it feels like a lot of that is provisioned wholly by very large companies because they're the only ones who can manage to do it. Do you foresee that that could change, particularly with businesses like Isembard?
I think when you have a smaller company, you end up with a better apprentice because that person has more emphasis put on that themselves. Maybe with the bigger companies, you have multiple apprentices, so then your knowledge is split between all of them. I think smaller companies, maybe with 1 or 2 apprentices, it's a good opportunity to be more refined on what you teach them.
It feels like we're still quite far away from that we've had it in the past. First industrial revolution, I suppose you can see as a culmination of centuries of having apprenticeships done at a micro level.
Yeah.
And now we live in a kind of corporatized world where that isn't the case. It feels like a franchise model for doing real industry work could be a great way to offer more opportunities, because the thing you hear from young people is there just aren't, as you said, there aren't enough of those opportunities out there.
And I think this is a great opportunity. I think with Isembard, it'd be great to move into apprenticeships as time goes forward.
What would you say to someone who's considering something like Isembard as an option in life?
Go for it. I think it's a great opportunity, and it's been a great way for me to improve my knowledge. There's been many things I've learned since being here, and I think it's a great opportunity.
As my mum likes to say, this isn't a dress rehearsal. You might as well just go for it. What does the future look like for Isembard Exeter and for you?
The near future, maybe another employee, and then maybe into the next year, sort of looking at some more machines so I can up my capacity.
We have dragooned Andrew,
Hi, Harriet.
who has come down from Isembard HQ to help down here at Exeter. And he is going to be telling us a little bit about some of the stuff that is being made here. Yep. Obviously, a lot of it is sensitive. So we might do a quick pan round to what we've got over here, and you and I are going to have a little chat about it. So essentially, we've got things for the land, we've got things for the sea, and we've got things for the sky read space.
Exactly.
Tell us a bit about what we've got here and some of the themes at least attached.
Great. So this is a great example. These are 3 of the most recent customers that we've been serving here in Isembard Exeter. So let's take the land first. As you can see, there's lots of them. This is just a small portion of the jobs that have been sent to the customer. And this really shows, what we're able to do here is like high volume work highly consistently, which is going to be needed as we scale up production for defense. The actual parts are part of an uncrewed, essentially robotic land system, and they're used for securing the payloads to those robots. And so it makes the robots like incredibly adaptable, and so they can be used for whatever the mission is. Very highly precise and easy to take on and off. So if we move through then to the sort of larger discs, these are parts of a satellite assembly. Our customer has said that this is really the critical part. They've been struggling to find manufacturers for. In fact, I think they were some of the first parts that we actually made here in Exeter. And yeah, absolutely, they're used to hold multiple payloads that will go up into space.
There's a sort of theme of having stuff being bolted on to the main event, as it were, getting stuff up.
I think they call it like a satellite integration unit, so essentially it helps integrate whatever payload this launch company's customers want to send up to the satellites that they're producing. And this unit is the kind of key interface between the customer's payload and the satellite itself.
And it's a similar story for the on-land defence
exactly.
Robots as well.
And now maybe we'll just talk about the last one. So that's marine. Again, this is a critical part for a uncrewed submarine. What you can see here is actually an evolution. So it's the other side, really, of the sort of large volume production. This is the rapid turnaround, one-off prototyping work. We love to get involved really early with our customers. In fact, even upstream of manufacturing, helping them on the design and the design for manufacturing. And then we're really happy to roll up our sleeves on the kind of rapid prototyping. And so here you'll see a sort of series and evolution as the customer has evolved its design, in part with our support. We can produce these prototypes really quickly. And
that nimbleness to help with that prototyping, is that because Isembard is young and small, or is that combined with a way of doing things that means you can move fast and be part of that journey?
I think it's all of that. We want to get involved really early. We're happy to move at pace, and that's in the DNA of Isembard. But it's also it's what we're enabled to do by our software. So because we have our own software, Mason OS, which runs both the kind of customer-facing bit of running a factory, quoting, order management, all of that, and also runs the factory floor in an extremely efficient way. That just means that we can be quicker in how we speak to customers. So, what we've been told by customers, often it can take, for a complex part, like a space part, 5 days to get a quote. With Mason OS, you can get that in 2 minutes. So that speed and agility, as you say, is absolutely built into everything that we're doing here.
I think that really, is the genius and the brainchild of Alex Fitzgerald, the founder and CEO, who's gone, what if we take the hardware, the software, and the model to get this stuff running at scale, but in a hyper-flexible way, in order to revivify this entire sector for the entire country, and then do that across multiple countries.
And then do that across the world. Absolutely. That's what we're doing, yes. So from here, Portsmouth, London, Dallas, Texas, and more to come.
Shaun has sent himself back to work, but we have just stepped out to ask him about the length of time it took to go from setup here to
first customer part delivered and value added
out on a launch pad, and it was
2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks.
So this is just incredible speed of being able to mobilize. This is where actually Isembard can come and help some of the franchisees, because we've got experience in fast factory setup. But yeah, absolutely. So I think it went from essentially empty sheds to part. This was a space part, so part on the launch pad in 2 weeks.
We've had the defence industrial strategy from government. Obviously, defence almost uniquely is a sector that relies on, requires, and is innately tied to the state and statecraft for its existence and its running. What do we need to have more of in this country in order to boost our capabilities? And also, what are the things that need to happen outside of government? What are the things that each of us needs to be involved in, Reed, in terms of innovation and the growth and securing of the sector? So
in terms of the kind of the public sector or government view, and I'm not necessarily advocating for this, but one thing I'd observe is machine shops, machine tools are essentially, the way to think about them is like the atomic unit of manufacturing and of the industrial base. In countries like Germany, in countries like China, the government really supports new entrepreneurs that want to expand and buy machine tools. And so a policy for example, subsidies for machine tools, I think could be an incredibly powerful enabling part of that industrial strategy that you discuss. In terms of outside government, I would say, UK startups. I think, there are, of course, lots of them. Isembard is, thrilled to be part of that portfolio. For example, the basis portfolio. But there's absolutely huge opportunity for more. I read the Defence Industrial Strategy. I think it's awesome that, again, for the first time, it called out fantastic UK startups. US startups like Palantir and Anduril, and UK startups like Harriet, actually mentioned as examples of the kind of innovation that we need. So I'd wholeheartedly agree with that. I think there's a huge opportunity here, in essentially all parts of the chain. So if you think, Isembard comes in essentially after a customer might have had a design, takes it through from sort of design, prototyping, like scale production, and then before, it's actually deployed into the field. I think at either ends of that chain, there's huge opportunities and need for complementary startups. And so I think that would be, one thing that everybody outside government could get involved with.
One of the things we think about at Basis, just very simply, is making a big thing smaller, and how that brings in efficiency and reinvention and the ability to do something in a secure and better way. And I think, Isembard very much stands for that and is that in my mind. And when you're dealing with such critical sectors that are of national and international importance, having that resilience and robustness that actually taking something smaller can enable and can secure feels really important.
I love that observation. I love that framing, actually. I think, when people think of kind of the factories of the future, they often have in mind like a gigafactory, like a huge shed with, hundreds of these machines. And I think ultimately, that's wrong. So, the gigafactory doesn't give you that resilience that you've discussed. It's, obviously like there's just a greater risk of concentrating everything in the same place, but also that gigafactory is not going to be close to the customers, is not going to have that like agile cycle with the customers.
It's the machine shop in the cricket pavilion.
Exactly right. Whereas what we can do, because of the software, because of our ability to automate the factory, ultimately, yes, you lose a little bit of efficiency, let's say on logistics, because maybe you're shipping parts further around potentially, but you more than make up for that by the productivity that we're able to get in the factory and the proximity to the customers, and therefore actually that model of a distributed manufacturing, crazy in a way that it hasn't been done before, but I think that's absolutely the model of the future. I love that observation. So like taking the gigafactory and splitting it up, making it small, and locating it in every town, in every village, I think that's exactly the model.
For us, it's the ownership and the upside as well, that actually distributing that feels, and you can think about that in energy, for example, as well. You can think about it in education. It feels like a very exciting and unique time to go, actually, are there ways that we can capitalise on what we've done in technology, both on the hardware and software side? Can we apply new models? Can we infuse that with human expertise in order to invoke human betterment? And that feels really exciting.
I totally agree. It's incredibly exciting. I think we're at the foothills of this. I think there's so much more to do. And I'm really excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harriet.
And just to recap, if people want to get in touch about a franchise, it's just franchise@isembard.com.
Exactly right.
And isembard.com for finding out more.
Great. We'd love to hear from your viewers. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.